morning, everyone. Welcome to the GFC 2023 Pitch Slam. This is my favorite event, which is hard to say because there's so many great events and sessions here at GFC every year. I love this one. I've had the privilege of being able to host the last one in 2019. How many 2019 GFC vets in the room? Who was here? Boom. Boom. There's Cameron. Anyone? Wow, a lot of new faces. That's great. Love the new blood. So thank you all for being here. We're about to see 6 really exciting new young innovative firms and companies. If you were at the Pitch Slam before or read about it or aware of it, we mostly had consumer-facing products in the past. They were all new products looking to go to market. I'm really proud to say a lot of them went to stores. I'm so pleased to see within a year or so of the last Slam, there are those products that were so novel. And they're at Whole Foods. And I'm buying them in my basket. That is just so cool to see something go from here to there. And so we expect that to happen again. This time we've broadened the lens a little bit to map to the DNA of what you've seen here at the show. And that is, it isn't just products. You're also going to see some processes and some ingredients. So we broaden the lens as we start to move toward more and more of that end of alternativism and the growth of scale and a more, I've heard the word clear-eyed more than once about the show this year. I've also heard the word inevitable with different definitions around it. Let's mull on that a little bit as you listen and watch some of our pitch slammers that are coming up. A lot of personal learnings I've taken away from the show this year, a few of those themes I just mentioned. I also was delighted to learn that TSA has trained golden doodles to be meat-sniffing dogs. Did you see them both? Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? And that 50% of the men in this sector are named Josh. That's interesting. Every business card I took home and looked at last night, Josh, good grief. So if I confuse you with another Josh, if I've met you, forgive me. I'm still sorting my Joshes. Let's get started now. We're going to go through our pitch slammers in no particular order, alphabetical by company name. So there's no preference or any sort of hierarchy here. You may see a mix of things stacking up. Let's get started with our first. And for this first one, and only for this first one, I'd like you not to clap, but instead to snap, right? The old Bohemian days? Everyone know that? Anyone old enough to know what I'm talking about? Right, okay. So let's give our snaps, if you will, for our team from BioBetter. Please welcome Amit, Yaari, and Dana Yarden. Lots of snaps. No claps, all snaps. Yeah, that's cool. You're about to see why.
Okay. In a world full of startups, where pitches sometimes sound the same, we decided to creatively rhyme, to stand out and claim.
Molecular farming, is it just a visionary theme? Tobacco plants becoming bioreactors, is it only a dream? From seeds to fields, a revolution in protein production it brings.
We promise, instead of smoking tobacco, we'll give it new roles and produce complex proteins to fulfill the cellular agriculture goals.
Introducing Amit Yaari, PhD, our visionary guide. CEO of BioBetter since 2016, he's been our pride. From academia to a company, he led the way, raising initial funds, turning night into day. In the face of COVID, his vision took flight, shifting towards cultivated meat, shining so bright. From kibbutz and dor, where his green hands were formed, to molecular farming, where future is transformed.
Thank you. Meet Dana Yarden, MD, MBA, a co-founder with Grace, BioBetter's driving force in the cell agri space. 2 decades in biotech she's weaved, a leader in business, her expertise greatly achieved. Within BioBetter, business development she steers, forging collaborations and banishing fears. Regulatory affairs under her capable wing, establishing pathways, approvals she will bring.
BioBetter mission, in cheap cost it excels. With innovative, unlimited scale, we aim to fuel cultivated meat industry field by growing the growth factors in a very high yield. Yes, in open fields, the secret unfolds. It is nature factory where wonder beholds.
Through genetic engineering, our plants are reprogrammed. We are transforming them into a biotech slam. Then planting these seeds in the fertile ground, it requires GMO courage. This revolution is profound. To lower costs, open fields is our take. To give cultivated meat the necessary break.
In this ever-changing world, it's clear to see our game-changing solution is shaping what will be. With plants as factory, zero capex, it's a cost-effective way. We will harness nature's power day after day. And with a patented purification downstream process, we deliver results ensuring progress and success.
We reached commercial scale cultivation, a recent achievement in our hand. Hectare of insulin and FGF2 plants to fulfill the demand. Now net houses. Next, open fields with all safety measures built in. Sterile plants, induced expression for a GMO win-win. With our pilot plant established to meet food grade standards indeed, regulatory milestones like GRAS and ISO 22000s will soon be achieved.
Since our last investment, just a year in the past, we've been working non-stop and our progress is vast. Our expression levels rising, our production costs take dive. With our 50 talented minds, we are going to strive. Armed with great results coming from cultivated meat companies, I think you should know, in 2024 we plan for more investments helping us to grow.
For our next round, our ambition is clear. Establish a commercial plant, bringing the solution ever near. A large-scale facility we're ready to deploy, producing tons of growth factors per year for all to enjoy. Make no mistake, sustainability is the key. Valorization of side stream, that's what will be.
So let skeptics fade, doubts melt away. Molecular farming is here to stay.
Let it be recognized. Let it claim its worth. With its unlimited potential, it will save planet Earth.
Let doubts be erased. Molecular farming should be fourth pillar embraced. Thank you.
All right. What do you want to say? That's all right. I got to say, there's no better way to open a slam than with poetry. That's ambitious, right? That's ambitious. Explaining science in meter. That's pretty cool. Amit, let me ask you, why tobacco? Why did the tobacco leaf attract your attention as this source of really energetic, animal-free growth? Of all the plants out there.
Well,
is that on? Let's turn on red, guys.
Red?
There you go.
Yeah. So I have to admit that tobacco does suffer from a tarnished reputation, so to speak.
Yeah, a little.
But unjustly, it's just what we chose to do with it. But in fact, it's a very capable plant. It has many, many advantages. It's easily transformable with new DNA construct, expresses high levels of protein, even compared to soy. And it has one important advantage, which is that it's not a food crop. So for the purpose of expressing growth factors, which are all, of course, considered as biopharmaceuticals, you have to think of safety and make it very safe to prevent transfer of this DNA expressing insulin or FGF2 into the food system. So having a plant that is out of the feed or food chain is very important.
That's interesting. And Dana, you and I were talking a few days ago about the interesting role that the history of Israeli bioscience has played in companies like yours being in the food space. Why is so much innovation? What's that key reason you told me that so much food innovation is coming out of Israel?
I think that in cellular agriculture in particular, we see a lot of innovation in Israel because in the last 10 to 20 years, many researchers and scientists were focused on molecular biology and genetic engineering. And once it's evolved for the cultivated meat for such a good cause, a lot of scientists and science went to drive this area. So I think that's one of the key explanations.
And you also said this field is more exciting.
It's more exciting, it's more vivid, it's a little bit, it's different from the pharma side where I'm coming from.
And really exciting movement can be made, as we're seeing here with this great energy in this room. Okay, let's hear it for the team from BioBetter, for Amit and Dana. Thank you. All right, moving on the hit parade now. Let's talk about, one of the holy grails out there, dairy-free, really great fats that are still a tough nut to crack, although we're seeing a lot of interesting innovation again here at this show. To bring us one of the latest visions of how this can be done to delight our palates and help us over one of our toughest cravings to overcome. Please welcome Lucie Rein from Cultivated Biosciences.
Hi. Clicker. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Lucie from Cultivated Biosciences. We're a food and biotech startup based in Zurich, Switzerland, and working on creating creamy, dairy-free indulgence. We want to give the consumer the same experience they have when eating dairy, but skipping the animal. So this is me, a fully eco-conscious person, almost vegetarian, standing in front of a shelf of dairy-free alternatives, wondering if I really have to eat all those watery and oily products. And in this room, I guess we all agree we've tried it and we were not convinced yet. There's a huge gap between consumer action and consumer intention when it comes to buying plant-based dairy. Plant-based dairy are on the rise. People want to eat healthier and more sustainable products. But in practice, they still stick to the cheapest products or the best tasting products. So there is a huge business opportunity to seize there. And we want to help the food industry unlock this business opportunity and seize this growth by helping them bridging the gap between dairy and dairy-free alternatives in terms of texture, but also without compromising on health, sustainability, and price. As a company, we want to build a world in which animal-free dairy is the better choice for everyone. So in other words, we want to make dairy-free as good as dairy so that more people switch. And how do we do that? Let me introduce you to our star ingredient, our animal-free, creamy, functional fat ingredient that we make with fermentation. To make it very visual for you, like on the picture, it looks like cream, it behaves like cream, it has a higher creaminess than dairy cream, so this is really our main value proposition for the food industry. But next to this superior creaminess, what we also offer the plant-based brands is that we enable them to have a healthier and cleaner labels. We are GMO-free, we are cholesterol-free, we are less saturated in fats, we also have a process that enables us to reach price parity with cream at scale, but I'll come back to that very shortly. And all this while saving 90% of CO2 emissions compared with dairy cream, and of course also preserving ecosystems. Our ingredient is unique and patented. So we work with oleaginous yeast that produces naturally large amount of fats. We grow it and we extract our ingredient in a special way to preserve or to obtain this creamy texture. We work with biomass fermentation and not with precision fermentation, which gives us completely different unit economics, also GMO-free yeast, and which also gives us access or easier access to infrastructure to reach this price parity with cream that I talked about earlier. We still target all kinds of applications, from dairy, plant-based ice creams to yogurts and cheeses. And talking about applications, we've been to kitchens and restaurants in Zurich, and the chefs love our ingredient. It's very versatile, white. You can use it in sweet applications, savory applications. You can cook it and whip it. But most importantly, as a B2B ingredient company, the whole food industry is waiting for us to ship the samples. So we're still very early stage, but we have a full sales pipeline, and we're very happy to already have signed 5 pilots with major players, which clearly shows that we're solving a big pain for the industry. We will enter the US market by beginning of 2025, once we got the FDA approval, and 1 year later in Europe. In parallel to that, we continue to scale our production to make sure that we can meet customer demand. Since we were founded end of 2021, we've been on a high-paced trajectory. We got the support from Bay Area founders, famous founders from Every or Wild Earth, during our pre-seed round last year, and we are currently raising our seed round of 4.5 million euro. Who's behind all that? A fabulous team of 14 people. Thomas and Dimitri are both engineers and met an engineering school to launch the company, and they've surrounded themselves with an amazing team, 4 PhDs, and I joined with my business hat and my business background from the food and startup industry 6 months ago to take the lead on the go-to-market, which is why I'm here. So whether you're a customer who are interested in integrating our ingredients in your product or an investor, please come and chat so that together we can create something better than dairy.
Thanks, Lucie. A couple questions. So you're working with a unique process that is, I'm not a scientist, so let me ask this on behalf of the non-scientists, all 3 of you in the room. You're working with a yeast that is sort of fat yielding or fat generating? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. When you look at the roadmap, we've talked about dairy, and I know that's a great focus. We saw that first photo of you sitting there, not too impressed. Beyond dairy, do you think your fat product is going to be applicable to the fats in other kinds of foods, or is it really dairy specific, which is a huge market?
It is already a huge market, and why we focused on dairy first is because it's white and creamy, so it sounds very logical. The value proposition there is very high, but we've also heard recently that our melting behavior, for example, could be of very high interest for meat alternatives and egg alternatives, so we will explore that as well.
And going to cheese specifically, do you think the fat, in all honesty, is that the main thing that we're missing for those of us who aren't yet satisfied with plant-based cheeses or non-animal cheeses? Or is there some other components also that need to be developed in parallel with what you're doing to get to great animal-free cheese?
Yeah, sure. So when we talk about animal-free cheese, we often hear about all those amazing startups working on casein or whey. And they're all very important, and we're also very excited to check and see how our ingredients mix with their protein to create a better cheese in the end.
Okay, and last thing, Q1 25, that would be when your product is available to partners in the U.S. or when they might have products out using your ingredient?
No, it's for the consumers.
Great.
Yeah.
Exciting. Let's hear it for Lucie.
Thank you.
Cultivated Biosciences. Okay, up next we're going to talk about a guy who I describe his work as audacious, and you'll see why in a moment. Working on a very interesting modular bioreactor architecture. Please welcome Alan Shih from Dynacyte Biosciences.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you, GFI, for having us. I'm Alan. I'm CEO and one of the founders of Dynacyte. We make bioreactors that are jam-packed with sensors, and they allow you to get data and do your bioprocesses very easily. So who we are, I'm fortunate to have a very good team with me, and when we constructed the team, we had a couple criteria. One is that you must have created a company that made money. 2 is that you must love science, and 3 is that you must love science fiction. And the company was founded in Singapore, and I recently moved to California, and we have quite a big presence in the U.S. as well because we are growing this market. Company stats: we raised a pre-seed with the general support of Mistletoe and BIV in 2021. Currently, we are revenue funded. So thank you very much for all our supporters in the crowd. Yeah, we really appreciate it, and our company products are really driven by you. We have high market penetration in Singapore, all the government institutions and most startups. We have customers in the US, Canada, and Europe, and our bioreactors are small, so we can ship them by FedEx or DHL, and we would like to support the biotech research all around the world. So let's talk about the issue that we're looking at. We might have a kind of a unique view on it, or it might not be, but there's a lot of room for improvement for biotech. You know, like if you consider a chicken egg, which is a bioreactor, it's a bioprocess. It makes 45 grams of tissue meat in 50 milliliters of volume. But a bioreactor, to make the same amount of meat, you need 200 liters. And I mean, there's a lot of conclusions you can draw, but it's just like we're at a stage where we can do production, we can do mass production, but you know, over time, things are going to get better. You just keep the chicken egg in mind. So what is our flagship product? It's called XB. You can think of it as the second generation of bioreactors. It's modular, meaning that you can adapt it to your application. It's jam-packed with sensors, and it's highly integrated. So all the sensors, all sorts of sensors, they go into the cloud, they go into the data is very convenient to get out. And that's important because every data point in biotech the cost of every data point is so important. And you have to actually like price out every single data point when you start out. And it's automated, it's daisy chainable, so you can have a lot of these. It works out of the box. And finally, I must emphasize data. Data is what's going to allow us to improve, to make progress on the way we produce cultivated meats, do fermentation, and approach what millions of years of evolution did, but now we're doing it in the span of 10, 20 years, right? So our product ecosystem looks like this. We have hardware, and that's all connected to software, and you can think of it as a mishmash of various technologies that enable you to do bioprocessing as quickly and as easily as possible. You can unbox it and you can get it set up. You may have to autoclave it for sterility issues, but in 10 minutes you can get it once the package arrives. And data is an investment. I just need to say it's an investment into the future. So that's why we keep streaming that data. You keep getting that data. And what we do is you can overlay your control parameters with the results. So you have cause and effect. And once you get that, you can draw conclusions as to what to do in the future. And you can use the scale up. So how it works is you log into your account at xb.com, you design and execute, and then you get data. So that's cause and effect right there. And then it controls all the biotech that you have. And we sell it like this. We have packages, and each one is 1 liter. So you can see the package price. You choose what kind of package you want, mammalian, microbial, synthetic biology, and then you can tack on worker nodes next to it. So you can like do parallel experiments, and some people even try to build small factories in this way. And then you can also scale up to larger bioreactors after you get the data. And this is an example of a topology that some people have adopted when they're using multiple bioreactors like this. And you know, the different topologies you can construct, those configurations can be so advanced. It's great to have small and modular systems. So you can think about like this. You can compare it to a single bioreactor. You can compare it to a bank of bioreactors. Or you can compare it to just a larger bioreactor. And I think the general trend of modularity, doing a cellular approach, is what all technologies go towards. We have examples, like you can grow human immune cells, XB versus Flask. There's another group who kindly allow us to share that they are generating organoids automatically using a special stir inside the XB. We can do automatic growth phase detection because there's an integrated off-gas monitor directly in the shell of the XB. So by smelling it, you know if it's in the growth phase, in the death phase, if it's in the lag phase, so forth. You can do yeast, you can do mammalian, and all of these, because you can link them up in the cloud for highly advanced control, which then comes down through Wi-Fi and then it's executed on premise. That's what enables like very smart and efficient high yield experiments. And this is characterizing the metabolic signatures using our off-gas sensors, which are included in that very affordable price. By the way, please connect with us if you haven't had to scan, and then we'll send you all sorts of information and even maybe an occasional promo. And thank you very much. So my call to action is please connect with us. We'd love to learn more. We'd love to support you. And yeah, happy to talk later as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alan. I got a couple questions about this. You use the words automatic, simplified, set up in 10 or 15 minutes versus 3 days for traditional architecture. The theme of easy runs through so much of what you're talking about in a field that I think is still somewhat overwhelmed by how hard everything still is. That's an audacious statement you're making, that easy is the next threshold and that we're about to cross that. Is that the biggest single point of what you're talking about, or at least one of them?
Yeah, by making certain parts of the process easy, you can leapfrog into the even harder parts. And it takes a lot of work, especially in our company, to make things easy. So we handle like the groundwork so that you can be more creative. It's kind of like, the cloud services, AWS, Google Cloud, you don't have to manage your servers anymore, right? But then you can actually do creative work and create apps. So I think all the companies out here, you want to focus on apps. You want to focus on building ideas rather than maintaining infrastructure.
So going from that answer, that's an interesting point as well. If I looked at your topology of my actual bioreactors and then working up to your cloud for data reporting and for control, would you expect me to run my insightful algorithms on your cloud? That's kind of an AWS model. Or would I run those locally for various reasons and use your cloud primarily as a powerful data and control source?
Yeah, you should, you can do, I think you should keep your IP to yourself. Like, we can't see it because it's encrypted. But our cloud is capable because we have computers in there that can help execute whatever algorithms that you have structured inside the cloud. And you can deploy that locally as well if you'd like. Okay.
And you guys make clear your status. You're shipping now.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Alan Shih from Dynacyte.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, next up, let's talk about an acronym CDMO. It's known in other industries as CMO or CM. Contract manufacturing, the idea that you have specialists that do the creation of the products. And to tell us about that from a place that does exactly that, and maybe you'll tell us a story about your banner one day, which is really interesting at your booth, is Will Milligan from Extracellular. Welcome, Mill. Will, not Mill.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Thanks very much for having us here to share what Extracellular is doing to support cultivated meats and alternative proteins. Now, as many of you might know, there are more than 150 companies around the world developing cultivated meat and seafood as a sustainable and ethical source of nutrition. And all of these companies are trying to achieve the same things. They're trying to reduce their costs, increase their scale, and get to market as quickly as possible. Now, they all need the same key resources to achieve this.
Okay.
They need the right facilities, the right equipment, and the right people.
Does he have no signal, or is that not showing up on the projector?
Brian, your mic's still on. But it doesn't make sense for each of these companies to build these capabilities themselves. Because, quite simply, it's expensive, it's inefficient, and it takes a lot of time. And this is where Extracellular comes in. Our mission is simple: to accelerate the potential of cultivated meat. We're a CDMO, a contract development and manufacturing organization. And we're dedicated to supporting cultivated meat and cultivated seafood companies bring their products to market. And we do this in a number of ways. We've established media development capabilities to help eliminate serum, help companies screen suppliers for food-grade components and different growth factors, and ultimately to reduce the costs of their media formulations. And we do this with automation platforms and a talented team of experts who really focus on reducing media costs. We support with cell development work, which sees us focus on suspension adaptation and immortalization of company cell lines, and really support new isolations of cells. And to support the industry, we've also developed license-free cell banks to help advance cultivated meat research globally. And you can get these license-free at low cost at extracellular.com. But really, I think the impact that we make the most success in is really in process development, where we really focus on optimizing culture parameters for cultivated meat companies, intensifying processes, and screening large number of conditions through parallel bioreactor systems in order to design and execute efficient studies to optimize manufacturing, and to support with scale-up. And really we focus on producing large quantities of cultivated meat cells to support cultivated meat and seafood companies focus on developing great consumer products. Now, we're a global-facing company, and we have more than 12 customers around the world, across 8 countries and 4 continents, and we support these all from our innovation center in Bristol in the UK. And as we grow, we plan to support the sector globally, and that means focusing on building dedicated sites for scale-up in relevant markets around the world, which means we're considering the United States, Europe, and Asia in the future. Now, this is the team. We're a team of dedicated and passionate scientists and engineers with deep expertise in biomanufacturing, cell biology, and consumer goods manufacturing. And really, our focus is to help accelerate the industry. And we want to share with you what we're doing in the near term to help the industry. That means accelerating our vision. And we're happy to share with you all today that we're announcing Europe's largest contract pilot facility for cultivated foods. Oh, thank you. Now, we're building this facility to produce up to 100 tons of cultivated meat and seafood cells annually. And this sees us establishing 200-liter, 2,000-liter, and up to 10,000 liters of total installed capacity. But this isn't the facility of the future. This is a facility of today. And we're operational in our site, running 200-liter bioreactors this month, and we'll be expanding our capabilities with 2,000 liters by the end of the year. Now, really, this is what we're doing to support the industry. And what I would say to you is, if you're a cultivated meat company working in this space, come and talk to us about how we can help accelerate your plans and reduce your costs. If you're an investor in the space, talk to your portfolio companies and direct them towards us. And hopefully, we can work together as the first choice manufacturing partner for cultivated meat globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Great stuff. Let me ask you, a lot of companies in the auto industry use a somewhat similar model, working with contract manufacturers. Some of the best-known brands of some of the most prestigious vehicles out there, in fact, are not made by that brand. I'll leave it at that. They tend to get involved, those contract manufacturers, in a fair amount of the design of those vehicles, kind of early on, helping to craft the brand, frankly. How deeply might you go into the design of foods that are going to be output through your production? Or do you say, look, bring us what you need done and we'll do it? What stage do you think you'd be in?
Yeah, I mean, really what we're trying to do is do the hard stuff and the expensive stuff to allow these cultivated meat and seafood companies to focus on developing great consumer products. And for us, that means focusing on the biomanufacturing. You know, using, installing, and operating those large bioreactors to produce the cultivated meat cells. We don't intend to support overly with the final product development, because ultimately that's likely where most of the value and differentiation is going to be in the space. But we really, really want to help with the tough stuff.
Let me talk to you about scale, because that's a big part of what you're talking about here. And the number that you quoted there, which looks pretty impressive, certainly for this sector right now of cultivated meat. What is the hardest part, if you could make it simple, about getting to scale? Within all the steps that we've learned about and continue to learn about in this industry, is there any one that stands out as the hardest thing? Is it a physical aspect? Is it a chemical aspect? What is it that makes getting to scale, never mind even the cost, just getting to scale successfully, the hardest challenge?
I mean, I think it comes down to the expertise that's needed to really execute these things successfully. That's a big one. And also the time it takes to build and install equipment in a facility. I mean, quite often it can take 18 to 24 months to really get these facilities up and running. Now, we've used our expertise to get our facility up and running in 12 weeks. And that really just comes to, you know, the years of experience that we have as a team in order to do this. And then, you know, really that's where we focus on.
Let's hear it for Will Milligan from Extracellular. Great stuff. Thanks, Will. And I'll hang on to your clicker, too. Okay, let's continue on here. You're starting to see some themes being threaded, right? About the streamlining and the efficientizing, if I can make up a word, of the whole scale-up production process. Next up, a good friend of GFI here is going to be talking about the idea that you can narrow and discover more efficiently than perhaps we're doing in the industry right now. And this is going to be a very enlightening talk. Please welcome, let me get your name right, Day. I know your first name very well. You have two pronunciation marks in your last name I've never seen before, so help me here. Day, Drąsutytė?
That was very good.
Close enough. Okay, thank you. Please welcome Day.
Ryan?
Makes it a lot easier.
Can we make it to go back? One slide, please. Here you go. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Day, and I am the CEO and co-founder at HERlab, a company that is changing the food system by finding hidden gems in thousands of undiscovered, unexplored yeasts. So I wanted to start with some big news. So here you can see the fresh results from our lab in Canterbury. This is, just last week, we expressed 2 food proteins using yeast that has never been utilized in the food industry before. And let me now explain why this should be a big deal for you as well. So in biotech, there are yeasts that have been used, and honestly, they are quite successful. However, to use the same yeast for precision fermentation, for food production, and in high volumes is simply prohibitively expensive. And that's because the feedstock is expensive, to get the protein out of the yeast is costly and hard, and then to tackle these 2 issues, the scientists need to genetically modify the strain, which is slow, laborious, and honestly brings only limited results. So, you know, in the end, there's only so much you can do to make a bicycle work like a plane. So at HERlab, we thought, shouldn't we simply use the plane? And this is exactly what we are doing. So we are looking into over 1,300 of yeasts that are known, but really unexplored. And we aim to select the ones that will do absolute best naturally and a specific task. And this is how our approach looks like. This is how we unleash this giant potential. So first of all, we take the genome of the unconventional yeast and we analyze it with artificial intelligence models, and we start narrowing down from there. Then we do thousands of experiments in our microbiology lab in Canterbury, and we pick the ones that are really robust for industry. So then we have our top choices. The third step will be to create genetic toolkit for those. And this also we do in our wet lab in Canterbury. And then finally we come back to AI, and we optimize these best of the best to get even to the bigger titers. So this is how it looks in reality. In very short, we can see how different these all yeasts actually are in predicted protein secretion. They used really different carbon sources. Some of those could be agricultural waste. Then we already saw transformations of these unconventional yeasts and, more importantly, expressions of fluorescence proteins, which means that we did modify these yeasts and they work. So these really powerful steps led us already to this expression system with which I started this presentation. We already saw proteins expressed, and that was fast. That was not 20 years, that was 3 months. The big thing here really to understand is that all this means that not only there is a big potential in unconventional yeasts, but also that we know how to unlock it and unlock it fast. So what we really create here is a big platform that will enable us to become the fastest R&D company providing the specific expression systems which will involve different yeasts for different target molecules. Best for the best. And right this very moment, in the UK, in our Canterbury lab, our scientists are working on the first 5 target molecules to use in these unexplored expression systems using these unexplored yeasts. So we are partnering with Accenture, and Accenture made this study, which really agrees with what we think. The potential of the market is huge. And only looking into food industry, by 2030, HERlab could claim a cut of $450 billion of the alternative food market and a direct $3 billion market of superior expression systems sector. So sometimes we actually think that the potential is even bigger. And at HERlab, we don't compete, we partner, and we are really thinking that's the only way to move forward because we are facing a huge problem with a huge potential, and only working together we can do that. Just recently, actually, in last month, received over $500,000 of grants from the Innovate UK, and we are now closing our round, which is led by a Scandinavian startup fund, Catapult, which is a lead investor in climate tech. And I am very proud of our team. We are working very closely with one of the biggest and one of the best fungal microbiology labs in the UK. And we have a growing team of dedicated and laser-focused microbiologists and advisors from all over the world. Just recently, our advisor team joined Ashish Paratkar. He is a former vice president of R&D at Perfect Day. The innovation of HERlab is led by Jonas, a brilliant AI engineer and a prestigious Marie Curie Fellowship alumni from MIT, our CTO who is over there with me today, and myself, a serial entrepreneur, the first GeoFI's entrepreneur in residence, Accenture's mentee, someone who will do everything to make this broken food system to change. And I want to close with this. We are unleashing an enormous potential, and the time to do this is now.
Thank you, Day. Unconventional yeasts are where you're focused now. Is there anything in your technology and processes that would move you on to other areas of exploration, or is what you're developing really unique to yeasts?
It is very unique to yeast. So you can look at it like this. There's bacteria, yeast, and fungi. Bacteria is great. We know science knows a lot about it, and it's easy to work with it as well. But it has its limitations. For alternative protein, for mammalian proteins, it doesn't have a good prospects. When you look on the other side of the spectrum, you see fungi. And fungi have a huge potential, but they are so complex. You also really need to laser focus to get the result. What yeast is, it's in between. We know enough to do the high throughput screening, to use AI to understand it, and this will bring us to the top performers. So that's why we work with yeast.
The word inevitability is being used a lot here at the conference, but it means different things to different people. If I were to say to you, is there a sense of inevitability right now in this sector? And if so, why do you feel that?
Inevitability?
The fact that something is just, it's going to work out. Our trends here of animal-free proteins are now no longer a matter of if, but when?
Yes.
What gives you confidence in that statement?
So, you know, we already had Saccharomyces. We used those for hundreds of years. And then we started using them for this reason, we started using them for precision fermentation. Accidentally, we found Pichia, and, you know, people are now using Pichia for almost everything. And that's 2 out of 1,300. So that's one of the things why I believe the potential is we didn't even step into these unknown waters. So of course there is possibility that there's something really big there. Second reason, we already did our experiments and we proved this is true, reality. And third thing, why I really believe in this industry overall, that everyone is really tend and lean to working together. And this is something unique. We're really like passion-driven and motivated. And that's why I think, you know, when everyone is laser-focused to what they do, we will get there for sure.
Give it up for Dave from HERlab. Thank you, Dave. Okay, now we're going to bring up our sixth and final of our fantastic pitch slammers. And while you may hear about companies that are working on this kind of food or that kind of food, they're working on meats perhaps, or seafood, or maybe working on dairy. This gentleman has the insanity of taking them all on. So please welcome Rein Chung from Unlimit.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Rein Chung. I'm the co-CEO of Unlimit. I'd like to share the journey of our company. We're a plant-based food company that began with the idea of using an ugly produce to reduce food waste. So by upcycling byproducts of soy and rice, we made the world's first upcycled plant-based beef. And today we have more than 10 different types of diverse meats, from pulled pork to tuna to pepperoni and many more. Like many plant-based food companies that have been around, we really were laser focused on making the plants to taste like meats. And I think we as an industry made tremendous progress in achieving arguably taste parity, bridging the price gap, and also making the products more accessible for many people. Not only that, we're trying to make the products better every year. By eliminating ingredients that are deemed unclean, we're going to be launching this new, healthier line of products to the US consumers across the grocery. The problem, however, we're facing today are different. We have a demand problem. I think many of us know already that the US sales of plant-based meat has been declining. Many plant-based food companies are struggling. So the question now we're asking is, what have we missed? Were we solving for a wrong problem, or were we just not executing good enough? I believe what we've been missing, however, is the customers. You see, many experts have pointed out, even at the conference yesterday, that we have to start from customer experience, and we've been missing how to provide a proper message to the customers. Like many companies, we started with the technology. We had a technology that can mimic animal-based meat and try to market that to customers. And you see, that's a great approach, but most of the times that may not work. You see, as Steve Jobs once pointed out, we have to work from customer experience and backwards to technology, not the other way around. This dichotomy of plant-based versus animal-based meat and this technical race against the animal-based meat and trying to producing them at lower cost have only resulted in commodity burgers and nuggets, and customers are not finding values in them or even inspired by them. So what does that mean then to think about customers? I think two questions that every startup should ask are, one, who do you seek to serve? And two, what values are you providing to them different from others? We at Unlimit seek to serve those people who are looking for new products. Whether you're vegetarian, vegan, or meat eaters, if you're one of those people who are going to a new restaurant that opened up, or if you're going extra miles to find your favorite items at a different grocery stores, you are our customers. And the values that we are trying to provide to you are the diversity and excitement through this new category of plant-based meat. As for health, we believe that everyone's diet is a personal choice. We're not asking people to eat this and not that. However, where we can add value with our plant-based foods is to provide a balanced mix of macronutrients, carb, protein, fiber, and fat. Well, so what does it really look like in terms of products then? We don't have all the answers at the moment, so we're trying to still figure them out. But one of the recent events, a frozen gimbap craze that occurred at Trader Joe's, maybe could give us a hint. You see, gimbap is a very traditional Korean food which is known for its healthy mix of meat and veggies, obviously with its fermented kimchi. But Korean food is considered to be tasty because of the eclectic flavors and spices that it provides. I think many of the young consumers find the gimbap to be exciting and interesting and put all over the social media was not because this gimbap had superior tasty meats. You see, in fact, this gimbap was a vegetarian made with tofu, rice, vegetable, and seaweed. So maybe a key to unlock plant-based food is not so much about competing against and comparing ourselves against the animal-based meat, but really acknowledging that, you see, plants just by themselves can be tasty on their own terms. So as a starting point, we'll see how we can launch a new type of plant-based category foods, starting with some of the products that you see on the screen. Our goal is to elevate the plant-based food industry and propose a plant-based 2.0. And I hope that it's more than just meat alternative. Plant-based should not be defined by or limited to how it is close to the animal-based meat, but really it should stand on its own merits. We want customers to choose us not because we're very close to the meats, see how good we are, but because plant-based foods themselves bring joy and excitement and inspiration. And lastly, again, this requires collaboration. As many of the startups have been saying, we cannot achieve this alone. Innovation is better when we work with others. This picture is our delicious roll made with Just Egg products and Unlimit pulled pork. We just launched this in Korea a few days ago, and people are raving about it. Again, not because this is vegan or vegetarian or plant-based food. People are not even noticing that. But it's something that even in Korea have never tasted or tried. So I'd like to invite all of you to work with us to elevate plant-based foods to be more than meat alternative and making it more inspiring and, of course, sustainable for decades to come. Thank you.
Question about, you have an interesting strategy here where you're a plant-based food company that is you both have a plant-based meat message.
Yes.
And a plant-based message that has no meat analog involved. That's relatively unusual in our sector. Why do you think that kind of dual fork in your brand is going to work?
Right. I think many people actually thought the plant-based was about eliminating animal-based meat, but we're trying to take it to the next level and say a plant-based is about plants and providing something that have not been so considered tasteful or just limited to the vegan. I think that's the message we're trying to provide, and with the novelty, that's what customers find it interesting.
Do you have any thoughts or any conversations with your team about where we are in the term plant-based? And is there a need for whatever comes after that? We keep moving names in this biz as we evolve. Right. Do you think that's good for the near term or the midterm, or do you think we need another term or no term?
Yeah, I think plant-based we're still trying to figure that out ourselves, but I think we have confused people already enough with what plant-based is. So we probably will try to keep it, but however, again, we want people to know that they should be buying our products not because it's called plant-based, but because of what it can provide to their diets.
And last thing I want to ask you, had a number of your products here are dialing into Korean food traditions. Mm-hmm. Red hot right now, Korean culture all over the world in many avenues, right? Would you be staying agile in the future? Let's say some other region's food is the trending cuisine 10 years from now. Would you continue to move to other regions that aren't necessarily your own backyard?
Yeah, for sure. I think Korean foods are definitely on the trendy side right now, and we're grateful because we are a Korean company. It's great to see the culture helping the food here. However, I think, again, the key is innovation and creativity in the food. It doesn't have to be Korean. It could be even just American breakfast burrito. If it can be turned into a retail packaged, delicious plant-based foods, I think people will find it innovative and interesting as well.
Very good. Let's hear it from Rein from Unlimit. Okay, so you've seen great visions from 6 innovators, young startup companies going in many different directions, from packaged products to ingredients to manufacturing process. A first here at the Pitch Slam at the GFC. I now encourage you and invite you to engage with them. They're here in the front row if you want to grab them very quickly on their way back to their booths, or you can see them at their booths that are directly positioned right behind our curtain wall. We made sure they're very close and easy to get to. So while they're top of mind, this is a great time to engage with further questions or any other discussion you want to have. Let's have one more round of applause for 6 great visionaries who you've heard today. And look forward to seeing their products or the products that they enable at retail very soon, like we've seen from many other Pitch Slam entrants. Enjoy the rest of the conference, everybody.